Exactly 5 years to the day after he discovered the affair messages, Michael had a panic attack. Not a bad day, not a moment of sadness, a full-blown 12-hour panic attack, crying, yelling, screaming. His body was completely overwhelmed by 5 years of pain he'd been trying to manage on his own. He didn't plan for it to happen, didn't see it coming. The anniversary just hit him, and everything he'd been pushing down erupted all at once.
Welcome to the Divorce Support Podcast, where we uncover how people successfully let go and move on during and after divorce. It's one of the hardest times in life, and yet we'll show you how you can feel significantly better, faster than you'd think. Everything here is backed by more than 40 years of courses and thousands of people who have used the Rebuilders program to let go and move on. And we'll show you how you can too. This season draws on the Amazon bestseller book titled 10-Week Divorce Recovery. We are walking through each chapter one at a time until we complete the book. Before we get into it, take a couple of minutes to find out exactly how you're doing. We have a free, personalized quiz that measures how you are doing. It's called the Divorce Recovery Scorecard. You can take it at rebuilders.net/DRS. You'll hear references to people's scores come up throughout the book. So get yours and keep them close as you listen. And if this show helps you, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this podcast. Now let's get started.
Chapter 2. Time. Time doesn't heal, and it's costing you. Michael thought he was doing okay. Not great, but okay. It had been 5 years since he found the messages on his ex-wife's phone. The affair that ended everything. 5 years is a long time. Long enough that people stopped asking how he was doing. Long enough that he'd stopped talking about it. He had a job. He had his kids. He was functioning. But inside, something was very wrong. He called it divorce hell. That's the phrase he used when he finally told someone what he was going through. Not, I'm struggling. Not, it's been hard. Divorce hell. He said it felt like purgatory, like he was dragging chains everywhere he went. And the chains weren't getting lighter. They were getting heavier. Every year that passed, the weight increased. He couldn't sleep well. His chest felt tight all the time. He'd wake up in the middle of the night with his heart racing, convinced something terrible was about to happen. I'm surprised I didn't have a stroke or a heart attack, he said later. I genuinely thought I might. That's not metaphorical language. That's a man who believed his body was breaking down under the weight of unprocessed grief and anger. And he wasn't wrong to worry. November 27, 2024. Exactly 5 years to the day after he discovered the affair messages, Michael had a panic attack. Not a bad day, not a moment of sadness, a full-blown 12-hour panic attack, crying, yelling, screaming. His body was completely overwhelmed by 5 years of pain he'd been trying to manage on his own. He didn't plan for it to happen, didn't see it coming. The anniversary just hit him, and everything he'd been pushing down erupted all at once. The next morning, he searched for help. He'd tried therapy before. It hadn't worked. Or maybe it had helped a little, but not enough. He was still in hell, still dragging the chains. He found a divorce recovery program online, took the assessment they recommended. His overall score came back, 8 out of 100. The lower the score, the more affected he is. A 100 out of 100 means complete and total recovery. Michael scored 8 overall. That's the compiled score of all of the subcategories. His anger score was 1 out of 100. His grief score was 29. His self-worth was 17. 5 years after the affair, 3 years after the divorce was final. And the data confirmed what he already knew. He was barely holding on. 10 weeks later, Michael took the same assessment again. Overall score, 98 out of 100. Anger, 88. Grief, 99. Self-worth, 96. He said, I haven't felt this good in 13 years. I literally feel like I lost 20 pounds of emotional weight. I now know I'm not going to have a stroke or heart attack due to my divorce anymore. 5 years of waiting made him worse. 10 weeks of structured work changed his life. Here's what people don't understand about time. They think it's neutral, that if you just wait long enough, the pain will fade on its own, like a bruise that eventually stops hurting. But emotional pain doesn't work that way. A bruise heals because your body has a process for healing bruises. Blood flow, tissue repair, it's automatic. You don't have to do anything. Grief, anger, hurt, and resentment don't have an automatic process. Your body and mind don't know how to discharge them without your help. So the emotions just sit there in your chest, in your nervous system, in the way you react when you see your ex's name on your phone. A bereavement counselor I knew used to say, if you take the time it takes less time. It sounds like a riddle, but it's exactly right. Doing the actual work, taking the time to actively process what happened, gets you through it faster than waiting for time to do it for you. Here's what neuroscience tells us about what's happening when you wait. Your brain is trying to solve a problem it can't solve. When you lose someone, whether through death or divorce, your brain has learned to expect that person. You've built neural pathways over years that predict their presence. You wake up and expect them to be there. You come home and your brain is looking for them. Grief researcher Mary Frances O'Connor describes it as a learning problem. Your brain has to learn to predict their absence instead of their presence, and that takes active work. But when you just wait, when you lie awake at night asking the same questions over and over, replaying what happened, trying to make sense of it, you're not learning, you're ruminating. And rumination strengthens the neural pathways associated with the pain. Like a hiking trail that gets more defined the more it's walked, your thought patterns become deeper grooves the more you rehearse them. Research shows that rumination is actually a stronger predictor of depression and anxiety than the stressful event itself. It's not what happened to you, it's what your brain does with what happened. Your brain can get trapped in what researchers call an active search mode. It can't accept the finality of the loss. It keeps expecting the person to come back, craving them, yearning for them. That's what happened to Michael. 5 years of his brain stuck in search mode. 5 years of yearning that never got resolved. 5 years of neural pathways getting stronger, making the pain more automatic, more entrenched. Denise's experience was different, but the outcome was the same. She didn't get worse over time. She just didn't get better. 3.5 years after her divorce, she opened her journal and wrote, I honestly can't even get through the first page of this book. I've been putting off dealing with my divorce for 3.5 years. It's still devastating. I don't think I'll ever come to terms with it. 3.5 years. Everyone had told her the same thing. Time heals all wounds. So she waited. She kept herself busy. She tried to be strong for her kids. She told herself that eventually she'd feel better. She didn't. After the divorce, she was worse than ever. Couldn't get through a day without crying. Her kids tried to encourage her. Friends told her to hang in there. Nothing worked. I just accepted I wasn't going to be a happy person anymore, she said. I thought I'd spend the rest of my life barely coping. That's what 3.5 years of waiting gave her. Not healing. Resignation. She didn't believe she could feel better. She'd given up hoping. 10 weeks after she started the program, Denise felt joy for the first time in years. Not contentment, not okay. Joy. She said it perfectly. Everyone thinks time will heal all wounds, but time just scars over the wound. What's underneath doesn't get dealt with. That's the difference between waiting and healing. Waiting creates a scar, a callus. You learn to numb and live with the pain. You learn to function around it. You tell people you're fine because you've gotten better at hiding it. But underneath, nothing has changed. The grief is still there. The anger is still there. The wound is still open. You've just built a wall around it. And that wall cost you. Here's what waiting actually costs. Not just time. Not just years of your life you won't get back. It costs you in ways you probably aren't tracking. It costs you at work. The average person going through divorce is 40% less productive. For nearly 2 years. That's not a rough estimate. That's documented research. You show up. You sit at your desk. You go through the motions. But you're not really there. New burdens conflict with your job. Taking care of a sick child, drop off and pick up times conflict with work schedule. Lawyer appointments. Doctor appointments. As a single parent, they become your responsibilities. Your brain is somewhere else. Replaying the argument, obsessing over the custody schedule, wondering what your ex is doing, trying to figure out what went wrong. Some people lose their jobs during this time. Others probably should, based on how they're performing. But they hang on because they have to, because they can't afford not to. Michael said he was barely functioning at work, going through the motions. His boss probably had no idea how close he was to falling apart. 2 years of operating at 60% capacity. That's not just lost productivity. That's lost opportunities, promotions you didn't get, projects you couldn't handle, relationships with colleagues you couldn't maintain. At first, the team accommodates the additional workload that they assume in your absence. But as time goes on, they become more frustrated. For some people, it's the difference between advancing in their career and stalling out completely. It costs you with your kids. You're physically present, but you're not emotionally available. You're irritable, distracted, exhausted all the time. Your kids can feel it, even if you're trying to hide it. Even if you're doing everything right on the surface, they know something's wrong with you, and they don't know how to help. So they either try harder to make you happy, try to be good, which isn't their job, or they pull away because they don't want to add to your stress. Neither of those is what you want for them. But you can't be the parent you want to be when you're drowning. It costs you your health. Michael thought he was going to have a stroke. That's not an exaggeration. That's what living in unprocessed rage and grief for 5 years does to your body. Your nervous system stays in fight or flight mode. Your cortisol levels stay elevated. Your sleep gets disrupted. Your immune system weakens. Some people develop chronic pain, migraines, digestive issues, high blood pressure. Some people have actual heart attacks. This isn't abstract. This is what your body does when it's carrying unprocessed trauma for years. It costs you in bad decisions. When you're not thinking clearly, when you're overwhelmed by grief or consumed by anger, you make decisions you wouldn't otherwise make. You agree to things in the divorce settlement that aren't fair because you just want it to be over. You fight over things that don't actually matter because you're trying to punish your ex for the pain they caused. You start dating too soon because you can't stand being alone with your feelings. You do the divorce diet, not eating well, sometimes no appetite. For others, eating to numb your feelings. You stay in a relationship that isn't right because it's better than facing the emptiness. You spend money you don't have trying to fill the void. Every one of those decisions has consequences, and most of them are expensive. Michael spent tens of thousands of dollars in 5 years of his life trying to manage his divorce on his own. Denise spent 3.5 years resigned to being miserable for the rest of her life. That's not the cost of divorce. That's the cost of waiting instead of healing. Here's what most people don't realize. Crying isn't grieving. Crying is when we can't hold it in anymore. Grieving is actively letting go. It's a deliberate, intentional activity, and almost no one knows how to grieve well. Push it down. Keep functioning so the cup stays full, and they stay stuck. Same with anger. Anger doesn't fade just because time passes. It compounds. Every new interaction with your ex that goes badly, every time they don't follow through on something they promised, every time you see them with someone new, the anger builds, and if you don't have a way to release it, it turns into bitterness, resentment, rage that sits just under the surface all the time. You think you're managing it, but really, you're just getting better at suppressing it. And suppression takes energy, constant, relentless energy. That's why people are so exhausted during and after divorce, not just because of the logistics, because they're spending enormous amounts of energy holding everything in. So here's the question. How long have you been waiting already? Maybe you're like Michael, 5 years in, getting worse, not better. Maybe you're like Denise, 3.5 years of hoping it would fade on its own. Maybe you're like me, 8 months of barely holding on. Or maybe your divorce just happened. A few weeks ago, a few months ago. You're right at the beginning. And everyone's telling you the same thing. Give it time. Be patient with yourself. It gets easier. You're better off without him /her. You'll see it's for the best. So you wait. But here's what nobody tells you. The longer you wait without doing the actual work, the deeper those neural pathways get. The more automatic the pain becomes. The harder it is to change the pattern. Michael didn't know that 5 years ago. Denise didn't know it 3.5 years ago. I didn't know it 8 months in. None of us would have waited if we'd known then what we know now. You're still here, still struggling, still looking for something that actually works. Whether you've been waiting for weeks or years, you know waiting isn't enough. So you look for someone who knows the answer. A therapist who's trained for this, a doctor who can help, a priest who can offer guidance, a support group where people understand, someone with credentials, training, authority, someone who's seen this before and knows what to do. We assume the experts will have the answers, but what if they don't?
Thanks so much for listening. We hope today's chapter meant something to you, and we look forward to bringing you the next one. If any of it hit close to home, here's your next step. Every week we run Phoenix Live. It's free to visit. It's online, so it's easy to try out, and it's real people at every stage of divorce recovery doing the work. Learn more at rebuilders.net. And when you're ready to walk through the process with help, it comes in 3 ways. Online from anywhere, in person with a local group, or as a week-long immersion retreat. Same program, 3 doors. But start with Phoenix Live. Come sit with us. I'd love to meet you. One last thing before you go. If someone you love is going through this too, send them this episode. It might be exactly what they need to hear right now. And again, thank you for being here. See you in the next episode.